Time for this weekend's Capitol Report. Pat McGuigan is here. Today we're talking about some of the questions that we're going to be seeing as voters and on the ballot in November. The one that you say is the most significant economically, State Question 766. Why do you say that?
Well, there's a lot of reasons. Without it, if it's not passed by the voters, there's at least a high likelihood of a whole sequence of dramatic increases in taxes on businesses and perhaps on individuals. The whole thing pivots on the question of intangible value, intangibles. Now, there are a few things explicitly exempted from property taxation in the Oklahoma Constitution. Over time, the number of things considered intangibles has grown, in part because of the service economy. Long story short, the Supreme Court in 2009, in a very important case involving AT&T, said that a lot of new things could be subjected to an intangible tax on what's the property tax. And that has set off a lot of anxiety among businesses.
Okay, and so it's important for businesses. Talk about how it will affect other Oklahoma voters, just the regular folks.
Well, there's already at least one county assessor, and it's not Leonard Sullivan here in Oklahoma County, but there's at least one county assessor who's been making inquiries on how intangibles are assessed for purposes of taxation in other states and jurisdictions. The reason that's significant is there's only 10 states that even tax intangibles. It is widely considered something you don't want to go into trying to assess the value of something that's amorphous, even if you recognize that it does have some value. So who would that apply to? It could apply to a homeowner. It could apply to very small businesses. There's something called goodwill, which, you know, you and I understand what goodwill means, but can we put an economic value on it? When government tries to do that, it gets kind of confusing. So what I'm saying, I'm doing some writing on this, and I'll be doing a piece next month for Perspective magazine from OCPA. And basically I'm saying, let's keep it real, a little bit of a pun on real property. Let's keep it real and tangible. And I personally am encouraging a yes vote. I certainly encourage people to study the issue. Okay,
now let's shift to education in Oklahoma. We continue to come in lower and lower as far as our education standards. Talk about what we can do to help teachers and students and schools succeed in Oklahoma.
Well, there's a new Harvard study. My colleague Stacy Martin at CapitolBeatOK has been studying this, and it's kind of dense, although it's not real long, and it's very interesting. And the most significant part of it was a finding about how states respond when students and schools are identified as low achieving. And that was even scarier than the indices that we see all the time that you referenced, that our achievement is relatively low. To be specific, in the Harvard study they found that there was the 4 states at the bottom. Iowa is dead last and Oklahoma is 3 up from that. So we're 4th from the bottom in terms of responding to the problem and closing gaps so that students can catch up. So what that means or implies, of course, is that we're already behind and then we have trouble closing gaps. Now, real quickly, what can be done? There's a new effort that's been controversial, but it certainly would seem to be worth a try, from Superintendent Janet Barisi, to model what's been done in Florida and a few other states to make it a little easier for parents, for consumers, if you will, of educational products to understand how an individual school is doing. And they're going to rank schools from A to F, and that's a little different than the old standards, which were more amorphous. Now, money doesn't solve everything. There is a mindset in the education business that it solves everything, and it doesn't. Other factors are parental involvement, and in particular how kids are prepared before they ever get to school, or how they were prepared at the school they're coming from to a new one. So there's a lot of factors. Money, of course, is great, and it's nice to have more resources, but it's not absolutely dispositive. and the outcomes. Teacher quality, for example, is essential. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. We'll be keeping an eye on it, CapitolBeatOK, because I think we all want to see our schools do better.
Definitely. All right. Thank you, Pat McGuigan, with this weekend's Capitol Report. Have a great weekend, folks.